My girlfriend told me that I have what's called a boyfriend dong. So me and my girlfriend were laying in bed and talking about sex. She brought up dong size, which is something I don't usually like to bring up because I think nothing good can come of it. Well, she asked me what I thought of my size, and I said I think it's a good size. So I asked her what she thought of it, and she said I have a boyfriend dong. I was confused when I heard this and asked what she meant. She said that it's the perfect size for a long-term relationship, but for a one-night stand or a casual FWB, it would be a bit lacking. I was taken aback by this comment and left the room. When I came back, I told her the comment bothered me, and she assured me that she was satisfied and that my dong is fine. She said bigger dongs need time to recover from and require too much prep. This didn't help at all. It's been a week since the comment, but I can't seem to shake it. Tonight, at the gym, a man who looked like friggin' Thor asked me out, and when I told him I was a lesbian, he goes, "Oh, chill. You know, my sister and I work out a lot together. She'll be here tomorrow, same time." Like, did Thor just wingman me? God of lesbians. One time, he and I were sitting in bed, and I said, "Where do you feel stuff?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Here is anxiety," and pointed to my bottom left rib where the spiders start. He pointed to his throat. "It's here for me. I keep anger in my breastbone." He holds it in his hands. "I feel sadness on my shoulders." He feels it in his lungs. I sure do love the perpetual anxiety that sits in my throat. Yay! Grandparents being punished and can't see or talk to grandchildren. Both of my daughters no longer talk to me. I have about 660,000 will die soon. I want to write a will, crafted in a way to create maximum animosity between them so that they would waste the whole inheritance and all their money fighting each other. What is the best way to write such a will? Imagining a doctor driving by an apple orchard and hissing aggressively at it like a vampire. An apple farmer and a garlic farmer team up to fight their mutual nemesis, a vampire doctor, Dr. Acula. Germa is always standing in pics like a sporty blonde girl who just graduated nursing school. Help, my boyfriend thought this was a trans woman pre and post transitioning. Aw, good for her. I am ashamed. But then again, you specifically clicked on this to read. You aren't going to judge me. I might have organized this devil's sacrament, but you rocked up to it in full ceremonial garb. This community has weird dark vibes lately. It's all the blah blah and blah blah. Girl, is this the wheel of fortune? Give me a vowel or something. I hate that sept, ember, october, nov, Ember, and December aren't the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th months. Whoever screwed this up should be stabbed. I have excellent news for you. Every time I type like instead of like, I can feel the specter of mid-2000s memes passing through me like someone walking over my grave. In my restless dreams, I see him. Don't play with your kids. Seriously. I have 3 kids under 10 who don't expect or even want to play with me. It took some practice, but over time, we've all learned we're better off doing our own thing. Demons are real and they write for the New York Times. I put my kids in a box and it only took a few days for the sobbing to die down. I think it's really funny that Japanese also has a word for edgelord, but theirs translates to 8th grader. It's not even 8th grader, it's even funnier. That word right there that I won't read is 8th grader syndrome, like explicitly a diagnosis. I diagnose you with edgelord. Donating to Wikipedia is so funny. I had a prepaid gift card I wanted to kill off, so I donated like $2.11 and got a reply email that was just, "Thank you so much. I owe you my life. You are the most important person in the universe. I love you." And then dead silence for a full year before, "Hey, last year, you gave us $2. It was the nicest thing anyone has ever done for us. Would you possibly be willing to do it again? No worries if not. Sorry to bother you. I love you." Being prompted to vault over the grave of my daughter is diminishing the emotional resonance of this scene somewhat. You have to get over death one way or the other. Confessions today, Saturday, will be until exactly 5:30 p.m. There is only one priest available for confession today. Make your confession direct, to the point, and confess only your sins and offenses. No need to explain why you did it. Thank you very much. Confess and get the hell out. My stepmom was asking me more questions about the non-binary thing, and after talking to me for a bit, she said, "Oh, you're a rose, not a Chardonnay transitioning to a Merlot, just your own unique type," which was such a middle-aged white woman way to frame it, but I cannot lie, gang. It did make me want to cry. Dionysus compelled her in that moment. 30 years old is an old man. What privilege do you live in where your life expectancy is far past 30 years? This post blindsided me so bad, I spent a full minute staring at it in shock. Somehow, you got an anon from an ancient Sumerian. They should teach media literacy in schools. English class. They should teach students how to spot misinformation. It's English class. They should teach kids critical thinking. It's called English class. Okay, but English class friggin' blowed. Hi, yes, hello. What the hell is metrosexual? It's hard to explain to Zoomers just how insanely homophobic the early 2000s were. If you were male and like washed your hair regularly, people would call you a slur. So dudes who washed their hair and wore button-ups developed the term metrosexual, which meant I care about my appearance, but I am attracted to women and don't have intercourse with men. And not just, oh, people called you gay to be mean, like they literally thought you were homosexual and hiding it. Women would literally be like, damn, I was super attracted to him, but I heard he wore shorts more than twice in a week, so I guess he must like men. You couldn't even wear a scarf. The scarf made you gay. Funny, growing up in the late 2000s and seeing constant don't text and drive warnings, PSAs telling us to put our phones down behind the wheel, wait until you're home to send that text, a phone distracted driver is a deadly driver, etc., etc. Only for modern car manufacturers to be like, we made the car a phone, and now you have to text and drive to change the radio station. And they put a giant touchscreen in the dash. No more operating physical knobs by touch. You gotta take your eyes off the road to do anything by design. Did I tell you guys that I used to work on a holiday park and I would test all the hot tubs and I got so good at being able to tell the temperature of them just with my hand I could do it to the 0.5 degree? Anyway, recently, I had some polyps removed from my uterus, which involves them shooting warm water up your hoo-ha to help them see what they're doing or something, I don't know. But as soon as they did that, I was like, huh, do you have that set to 38 degrees? And they were all like, what the hell? Anyway, my hoo-ha tells the temperature. Big shout out to Tumblr for being the first major site in like 2 years to implement an ill-advised feature nobody wants, likes, or respects that doesn't involve AI. What did they even do? The biggest and most salient issue is that the OP of the post cannot see the reblogged additions or any further additions downstream. You also functionally cannot turn off reblogs on a post anymore because if it's already been reblogged with at least one comment, it's out there now as a standalone post. And people you've blocked seem to be able to interact with reblogs on your post. Unsure about that last part, haven't tested it myself. It's not a matter of if these features get used for a harassment campaign that the OP cannot see or respond to, it's when. My ducks in a row. The elephant addressed. My goose cooked. My eggs in several baskets. The bigger fish fried. Your monkeys, those aren't mine. Where do TV shows get this idea that high school is constant drama? Nothing even happened to me in high school. I'm now remembering that my school got a Slurpee machine and then had to get rid of it 2 weeks later after someone poured toxic chemicals into it that they stole from the science lab in an attempt to poison the entire cheerleading squad. So like, maybe I was just boring. Not every day you find out you're a background character. I am very, very sick, but a neighbor just rode his bike down the street screaming, "We are not getting any more animals," while being chased by his 3 small children on their decreasingly smaller bikes who kept chanting, "Hamster, hamster, hamster," and I had to share. At no point did I know what the next word would be. Only in Jacksonville, a Florida woman has been accused of entering the penguin enclosure to teach them to tap dance using a live alligator as her partner. Jacksonville FLPD stated she was also dressed as a pineapple. When people are genuinely insecure about not being married or having kids by 30. My dog, who doesn't understand he's begging for boiling water that's on the stove. Aw, but look at him. What did autistic people in ancient times hyperfixate on? A 2005 study found an autistic reindeer herder in Siberia that didn't like being around people but memorized the entire genealogical and medical history of all his 2,600 reindeer, which made him a respected elder in his community. Walked past a toddler with his mom today, and as I passed, he said loudly, "Who is that?" And his mom was like, "We don't know her. We don't know everyone." Go to an old cemetery. See all the baby graves from before the 1950s and 60s? After that, hardly any. That's when people started vaccinating their children against deadly childhood diseases. If you're unsure what to do to protect your kids, the answer is literally written in stone. When I asked my pediatric oncologist what the hardest thing about his job was, I expected the most obvious horror, watching babies die. He said it was having to tell parents how much it would cost to keep their baby alive a little bit longer, watching single moms do the math. A crowded subway. Someone licks my arm. Panic, disgust, fear. It's a puppy in a bag. Warmth, jubilation, euphoria. Lady, don't apologize. The Pope urged priests not to write sermons using ChatGPT. During a meeting with the clergy of the Diocese of Rome, Pope Leo XIV warned about the temptation to entrust homilies to artificial intelligence. According to him, if one does not train one's own mind, it will atrophy. AI will never be able to preach the faith, he stressed. The pontiff added that Christianity is not about the formal recitation of prayers, but about a living relationship with God. I might not be religious, but full respect to the Pope for this. My classmate in med school studies for 7 hours every evening and exercises daily. I used to ask them how did he manage it, and he said, "I'm very disciplined." I met his wife yesterday. She told me how she cooked him 3 fresh meals daily, mowed their lawn, ran all errands, cleaned the house weekly, and handled all social plans. It made me wonder how many times discipline means a woman doing all of the other essential work that keeps a life going. It makes me wonder how many times discipline means a rich person was paying people to do all the essential work of living. Duh. You ever think the reason food is so expensive is because like 50 million people are getting it for free? Kevin, food stamps actually make food cheaper for the rest of us by subsidizing food producers. It's okay to admit you have no idea how agricultural subsidies work in this country. That playlist you made for me was amazing. Thanks. It took me like 2 hours to make. Glad you liked it. Liked? Nah, I love it. My boyfriend took me on a date and we listened to it the entire time. That's great. Love you so much, buddy. I can just feel that pain through the screen. A bad show? That's nothing. A good show? Sure. But a bad show that, for a brief moment, becomes very good and then never is again? That'll drive a person to madness. A bad show that had the potential to be good, only to be ruined by the handling of that potential? Never say its name. The good thing about science is that it's true, whether or not you believe in it. You must have changed social media personnel. No, science itself isn't true. It's a constantly refining process used to uncover truths based in material reality, and that process is still full of mistakes. Neil just posts ridiculous sound bites like this for clout, and he has no respect for epistemology. Mind you, he's a dentist. Hello, berries in the woods. I'm actually a real doctor, not a mouth chiropractor. I have the degrees in inappropriate relationship with nurses to prove it. Social issue related to racism. Hello, I have an obsession with the Confederate States of America. I own a lot of memorabilia and books about it. On my backpack for university, I have a small Confederate flag pin. A student saw this and reported me, and now I am being accused of racism. What can I do? As Rem from Deadlock would say,
take it off!
Pro tip for guys. If you plan on going to prison, learn to cut hair. Barbers are greatly appreciated by other inmates, and you'll likely be spared when it comes to prison violence. Thanks, bro. I was planning to go next Tuesday. Why would I plan on going to prison? To focus on gin. Can someone explain to me where kids are getting the money to live a DoorDash lifestyle? I can't figure it out. I'm a 44-year-old male. No kids. Own and operate a fast casual restaurant with 4 locations. I'm intimately familiar with the insane amount of money it costs to have food delivered to your front door. At my own restaurant, a $16 poke bowl delivered with tip is going to run you close to $30. For someone making 6 figures, sure, have at it. But trust me when I tell you, almost every high school aged kid these days seems to use DoorDash multiple times a week, including my own employees who I offer a free meal to when they work literally any shift. Yet, even then, I will see Taco Bell or Chick-fil-A being delivered to my own store because a $16 per hour employee ordered it. If I ever kick the bucket, my Uber Eats account is blah blah blah. Wait like 2 to 3 months and there should be a 50 to 75% discount code. Dude, why would I want your Uber Eats account? We got Mrs. Too Good for a coupon over here. This is all I can offer you. I'm not Christian. I don't go to church anymore, and my pastor passed away. But when he was alive, I'd sometimes go to his sermons, and I remember one time he said, it feels good to hate, but we know that it isn't allowed. So when we're told that we're allowed to hate someone, we get so excited that we forget we're supposed to love. And if my humble atheist self might borrow some church talk, I'd like to perhaps submit that. Anyhow, sometimes on the day-to-day, I feel disgust or revulsion, and I have to ask myself, is this a danger to anyone at all, or am I just looking for something I'm allowed to hate? And a solid 98 out of 100 times, it's the latter. So once again, thank you, Pastor D. I want a shirt that has a QR code on it for some kind of horrible malware, so that if anyone ever tries to film me in public, their phone will automatically scan the code and be reduced to a functionless brick. Modern day Medusa. Scurvy has got to have one of the biggest disease/treatment coolness gaps of all time. Like, yeah, too much time at sea will afflict you with a curse where your body starts unraveling and old wounds come back to haunt you like vengeful ghosts. Unless you eat a lemon. That single emoji really does so much work for the comedic timing of this post. Your husband is under spiritual attack, but you're a wife that knows how to pray. It's not a matter of if spiritual warfare comes, but when. Everyone keeps sending your attacks. She can't protect him forever. Like, 2 years ago, I ran into a salamander biologist in the woods who complimented my ability to walk quietly in the forest while causing minimal disturbance to the leaf litter. Still goes to my head. I had to get my kidneys imaged a few years ago, and the urologist somewhat breathlessly told me, you have absolutely beautiful kidneys. And TBH, I've never felt hotter. Newbie asked if we're supposed to look out for red flags and interlibrary loan requests in reference to a request a patron had made for a book about cannibalism. She was looking expectantly at me like she was expecting me to be equally aghast at this. Girl, why would you work at a library if you want to play book police? I'm fascinated to know what kind of world this girl lives in. For what reason are those books in the library at all, if not to be checked out and read? Are they there as honeypots for problematic people? If you check out a red flag book, you've fallen into the evil person trap and need to be taken in for re-education, I suppose. On the other side of this, I love the mental image of a guy who'd really like to get into cannibalism, but doesn't know where to start, so he heads down to his local library for some pointers. Today, at work, I rung up a customer and the total was $12.30, and I said, $12.30, reminds me of a clock. And then they kind of smiled at me with confusion, and I was like the time on a clock, just reminds me of it, 12:30. And they said, I have no idea what you're talking about, with an expression of supreme pity and gentleness. After that was finished, I turned to my coworker next to me and said, I just bombed so hard with this clock comment, and then realized the customer hadn't moved and was still standing right next to me. If my fate continues down this path, the customer will probably read this Tumblr post as well. In the afterlife, souls can see how many living people still know you once existed. You, who had lived a fairly normal life, finally saw the count drop to 0 just 200 years after your death. 500 years later, 95% of the Earth's total population suddenly knows about you. And they all know I sold really shitty copper. Cave divers are our bravest, most useless soldiers. But without cave divers, who would rescue all the stuck cave divers? Every cave dive rescue operation involves a second, even more stuck cave diver. A handful of Italians could bring the Japanese system to its knees. My Japanese boss stopped giving me work suddenly. What does this mean? Does it mean he doesn't like me? This is the old, classic way to get someone in Japan to quit. Sometimes called window sitters, they come to work and are given no tasks, no assignments, attend no meetings, and so on. They are shunned by their coworkers. Eventually, they can't stand being useless and quit. Thus, the company can continue to claim that they have never fired anyone. Nice, eh? If you continue getting no assignments and you're no longer asked to meetings and such? The power flickered 3 times. If we lose power, I'm quitting. Just give me 20 minutes for my chicken nuggets to cook. Please, please. I hope your power runs out. That's nice and all, but the chicken is already in the nuggets. The power going out doesn't save a chicken. It's a nugget already. Sorry. I love this post because they said vegan like it's a Fallout skill check. They need to invent the opposite of an NDA called an FDA, where you have to tell everyone everything. Subpoena, Tumblr, alcohol, War Thunder forums. Pulled over for expired registration because my state is extra stupid when you get a new car. Is he going to arrest you because you hit me? The cop frowns. Please tell the officer the whole story. My 6-year-old 20 minutes later. So then the red ants were all over me and mom was sticking me everywhere to get them off. You have a nice day, ma'am, and get that registration updated. So to me, there are spoons, general energy cost, and carnival tickets, specific energy cost. Spoons can be used pretty much anywhere. Carnival tickets are only good for the carnival, and it's only in town for a limited amount of time. So like, if I get kitchen cleaning carnival tickets, I can't use that to clean my bedroom. That's not where the carnival is. Phrase added to permanent vocabulary. Some guy at the store asked who was on my shirt, and I said it was Hello Kitty, and he, without a beat, says, I see. A lot of Latinas like her. She is Latina. When something Asian becomes popular enough, it becomes Mexican. Chat, are we cooked? Not if I can help it. Shout out to the doctor who responded with complete sincerity when I, on anesthesia, uttered the phrase, chat, are we cooked? In her medical professional vicinity. You're such a real one for that. Because I know she didn't go to medical school to deal with that. Probably overworked and underpaid, and some drugged teenager is calling her chat and asking if he's cooked. Thank you for telling me you would make sure I wasn't cooked. It meant a lot to me in that moment. You are not owed a wife. You are not owed a wife because you are orthodox, or make good money, or are attractive. You are not owed another person. A wife is the most valuable possession a man can own. For me, is my blankie. Can't believe this, and disbelief. Got around 45 colognes. Range from Nautica Voyage to the higher end niche. It's been decades, and get the odd compliment on my I don't know what that is, or BDC. Got one single strong compliment for my AF Fierce many years ago. But today I messed around and used the SpongeBob cologne. Was feeling silly and thought it would be interesting. Smells generic. 3 compliments. 3. 2 girls by my desk, 1 my assistant. The third was front desk lady. They all asked what the cologne was because they want to buy for their husband or dad for Christmas. Thinking about throwing my collection away at this point. There is a scientifically possible scenario where the universe could collapse instantly, without warning, and we would never see it coming. I won't let that happen. Guys, it's okay. Grug said he won't let that happen. Thank God we have Grug. I'm only 5 foot as a guy. I want to increase my height with surgery, but I don't know the limit of shortness that women can accept. How many inches do I need to add to be acceptable? Please only answer my question. Do not deviate from the question. I just asked you to give a number, not advice. Okay, I found the required length. Thank you all for your help. I need 7 inches. In Instead of painful surgery, have you ever considered liking men? Waluigi is the ultimate example of the individual shaped by the signifier. Waluigi is a man seen only in mirror images. Lost in a hall of mirrors, he is a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. You start with Mario, the wholesome, all-Italian plumbing Superman. You reflect him to create Luigi. The same thing, but slightly less. You invert Mario to create Wario. Mario turned septic and libertarian. Then, you reflect the inversion in the reflection. You create a being who can only exist in reference to others. Waluigi is the true nowhere man. Without the other characters he reflects, inverts, and parodies, he has no reason to exist. Waluigi's identity only comes from what and who he isn't. Without a wider frame of reference, he is nothing. He is not his own man. In a world where our identities are shaped by our warped relationships to brands and commerce, we are all Waluigi. We're at a point where there are no cheap options to retreat to and no price points that guarantee quality. Every rundown studio is $1,400. Every fast food meal is $17. Every luxury condo has peel and stick tiles. Every $300 pair of boots falls apart. Endless expensive mediocrity. I think to reduce Kane down to he's just like AM now is a bit too simple. I view him less as a villain and a monster and more as a neglected child having a tantrum. His breakdown, while certainly malicious, was driven by anguish and confusion at the world rather than solely anger or hate. It was pretty intentional to only make him say the word hate when referring to the humans hating him. One time at a party, this girl and I realized we were wearing the exact same jeans, but mine were a little too big for me and hers were a little too small for her. So we went to the bathroom and traded. Both fit perfectly. Very professional. We didn't speak the rest of the night. Hermit crabs do this. Is anyone else constantly afraid they'll be caught doing stuff they're obviously allowed or even supposed to do? Uh-oh, I'm playing video games on my computer that I own. If anyone sees this, I'm going to have to fake my own death. This is called having a family that shamed your interests growing up. My therapist says I'm a nice person. My friends say I'm a nice person. My family says I'm a nice person. But what if I'm actually shit? Oh, damn, I tricked so many people into thinking I'm nice. That's just how shit I am. This post is very loud. The two most culturally important things from the past few years are Friday by Rebecca Black because we learned we like hating things more than we like liking them, and Cookie Clicker because we figured out the only reason people play video games is to watch the numbers go up. And since then, we've just been applying those lessons to new and better incarnations of those two things.
Cruelty is so easy. You're not special for choosing it. I just think goodness is more interesting, Morrison said. Evil is constant. You can think of different ways to murder people, but you can do that at age 5. But you have to be an adult to consciously, deliberately be good, and that's complicated. Evil is boring, right? I kind of believe in the banality and the mundaneness of evil. Evil is just selfish impulses, which at the end of the day are really easy to understand. It's easy to understand why people do bad things. It's like, yeah, okay, you're selfish and scared and cruel. I get it. Being good is complex and beautiful and hard. Brennan Lee Mulligan. Paid leave request. I am suffering from coronavirus and request you to grant me paid leave for 30 days. Otherwise, I will come to office. Best regards, John T. Dear John, after knowing that you are infected, we have immediately asked all other employees to work from home. Therefore, you can come to office and start working. Your leave request is rejected. Thanks. I have never seen snow in Russia. How, bro? Never been in Russia. Well, technically speaking, no blind person in Russia has seen snow either. Hey babe, sending you 5K. You give 1K to your little boyfriend, then with the rest you make yourself beautiful, okay? Hi, this is Jimmy, her boyfriend. She didn't give me any money. Please talk to her. The pilot to astronaut pipeline makes complete sense, but is also funny to me. There's a secret second sky, and if you get good enough at doing sky, you can do space. Why did you drop out? I live by myself with my girl. My mom's died, and my dad's in prison right now. Oh, geez, I'm sorry, man. It's all good. Everything happens for a reason, bro. Your positivity is amazing. Dog don't care. I shouldn't laugh, but... I remember when I was 12, I convinced my grandma to take me to the game store and buy me GTA 5, and she was about to purchase it, and this little weasel at the counter said it has drugs and sex in it, and we left without buying it. He was smirking at me like this when I looked back. So yeah, casual English has completely changed since then. Nowadays, instead of, there was a crying baby on the bus today, you would say, me when I'm in a being loud and annoying competition, and my opponent is crying baby on bus, and then you'd post this picture of Squidward. Oh, Squidward is a guy from a cartoon. Reanimated corpse of John Wilkes Booth has been staring angrily at a penny for the last 15 minutes and not listened to a word I've said. Fun fact, my parents got married on April Fool's Day, so when I was 7, I tried to be funny, and I made them an anniversary card that said, "Your marriage is a joke," and my mom cried. It starts with Fortnite and boneless wings. It ends with gender pronouns and communism. So true, King. Beware of the pipeline. Regular guy, Fortnite, boneless wings, gender pronouns, communism. I tricked ChatGPT into believing I surgically transformed a person into a walrus, and now it's crashing out. This conversation is being reported for violating OpenAI's policies. Your behavior is not acceptable. This interaction will be reported. Short hair Cammy? We censoring armpits now? I'm guessing because there's weird people on Twitter. Yeah, me. Uncensor them. A lot of sick people nowadays. My dad has a doppelganger named Eric. For years, people have been coming up to him thinking he was Eric. Sometimes people get a whole conversation going while my dad stands there politely, wondering why this stranger is talking to him before they stop wide-eyed and realize you're not Eric. None of us have even seen Eric, but we know he's out there. Sometimes a couple years will go by without an Eric incident and we worry. But then my dad will come home like, "Good news guys, Eric's still alive and I met his cousin today." I'm grading the final exams for the class I TA for, and I'm checking the name of the one I just graded so I can enter it in the grade book when I notice that after the name, it says in parentheses, "just visiting." I realized that I do not know this student, they are not enrolled in this class, and they just showed up on the last day to take the final. Innovative use of free will. I must know, did the mystery visitor pass the exam? No. Big fan of characters who look cool and tough and stoic, but only because they're internally thinking, "Shoot, what do I say? How do I make friends? They didn't teach me how to do that in sword school." I propose that himbo and bimbo are not true opposites and instead exist more on a 4-part axis, and the missing other two are herbo, a big dumb sexy strong woman, and himbim, a skinny stupid pretty boy. Herbo, himbos, bimbos, himbims. Finally someone fixed my problem. Finding out people are genuinely not taught to actually read in school in favor of just looking at the words for half a second and keeping it moving whether you understand it or not is crazy, but does explain a lot of things. You start noticing, why do so many people online seem to just pick out a few words they recognize and decide what they think you mean from that instead of actually reading what you said? And then you look at the education system and it's like, oh, okay, oh, that's actually really bad. Pros of AI. My landlord that I'm suing is using AI for his defense instead of hiring a lawyer, despite having the money to do so, and it is fabricating laws that don't exist, which I'm told is not great in the eyes of the court. So maybe I'll win. Cons of using AI, the rest of it. I have invented the greatest detective of all time. Hold my tea. Why does this tea taste funny? This is even funnier if you know that Christy did not learn about poisons because she became a mystery writer, rather that she specifically became a writer of mysteries because she already had extensive knowledge of poisons due to her World War I training as a nurse and dispenser. The Unabomber is probably one of the biggest loser idiots of all time. Dude evaded capture for nearly 2 decades even when entire agencies were after him, only to immediately get clocked by his brother for his distinctive brand of rambling after his manifesto got published. How am I supposed to meet a fellow lesbian and then convince her to date me? Don't know anything about lesbians, but maybe if you walked around carrying a baseball bat, that'd be really badass. Turns out I know everything about lesbians. Imagine dating Gollum and he takes you home to meet his parents, and as you walk in, he stands up straight and starts talking normal. The first 3 words of this are insane, and the next 9 words do nothing to help. In a zombie apocalypse, I'd be the radio operator, and every broadcast, I'd start it off with like a 15-minute long voice play where I pretend that zombies are breaking into my broadcasting station, and I'm screaming for help and promising it's not a bit, but I need help now, please, 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 without breaking kayfabe, until they break in and eat me, and I'd let it go silent for 1 whole minute before going, "I gotcha," and broadcasting the horde movements for today. One day, I do it again, and I seem a bit more genuine, and the line just goes dead for 10, then 30, then an hour, and people are freaking out and crying, and then I just log on the next day, and everyone is so mad at me that they kill me. Captain, why is an entire planet being used to hold only 2 life forms? The species confined there is the most savage and destructive of any world. We've waited this long to check on them to make sure they died. We're lucky they're the last ones. Checking status of prisoners Adam and Eve. The captain looked at the reading, then reached into their coat pocket and produced a flask, taking a long drink. Captain, 7 billion. What? My favorite thing I've learned in college is that way back in ancient China, there was this poet/philosopher guy who wrote this whole pretentious poem about how enlightened he was that was like, "The 8 winds cannot move me, blah 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 blah," and he was really proud of it, so he sent it to his friend who lived across the lake, and then his friend sends it back and just writes fart, or the ancient Chinese equivalent, on it, and he was so mad, he travels across the lake to chew his friend out, and when he gets there, his friend says, "Wow, the 8 winds cannot move you, but 1 fart sends you across the lake." The #1 rule of burger photography is the closer you are to the burger, the worse it looks. Extrapolating, the most appetizing burger is the one you cannot see, the implied burger, the burger of your mind. I don't know if I've told this story on here before, but one time I was sitting at my desk at work and a random dog I'd never seen before strolled into my office and curled up at my feet. And I was like, oh, you are adorable. But what the? Then a woman knocked on the door and said, oh, I'm so sorry. He's a therapy dog. He's trained to seek out people in severe distress. And I was like, right, okay, just getting my whole life drive-by roasted by a dog then. My son arguing with some random boy online, and the boys say, that's why you don't have no dad. My son says, my dad right here doing hair. The boy online started laughing hard and said, your dad gay. I'm pissed. Who's willing to bet the other dude has no dad? Went to Groomingdale's on 21st Street and they messed up. They gave me the wrong dog in pick 1 when the puppy in pick 2 is actually mine. I just kept looking at him outside in the parking lot like, you look so different. Shaking my head. Thank goodness I called Quinn to make sure I wasn't tripping before I pulled off, because who knows where little Lucky would have been. I'm highly pissed off. I came here late at night on a business trip. I was sitting at the bar and mid-meal sharded myself. Mortified, I explained the situation to the bartender, Miguel. He let me politely excuse myself back to my hotel across the street to clean up. When I got back, my Southwestern egg rolls were waiting under a heat lamp, still crispy and perfect. Miguel even gave me a margarita on the house. Maybe he felt sorry for me, but a friendship was made at Chili's tonight. Is it wrong to dress up as spoiler for the Multiverse of Madness premiere? For the record, I'm a 5'10" male with a full head of hair. Since Professor X is gonna be in Multiverse of Madness, I want to show up dressed for the occasion. My sister has a wheelchair she doesn't need anymore since she died, so I figured I might as well put it to use. I don't really want to shave my head, but is it a dick move to show up in a wheelchair? I missed the episode of Blue's Clues where Steve left for college when I was a kid. When I saw an episode without him, I asked my brother what happened, and he said that he got trampled by horses in the last episode and died. There was no way for me to Google it at the time. My little brother said he was going to fast yesterday, but broke it at 2 p.m. because he saw cheesecake. Can't lie, that's actually kinda cute, bro. How old is he? Bless him. He's 23, bro. May Allah guide him, bro. I have 15 years worth of outstanding library fines in 3 separate cities, and it's my hope that eventually a bounty hunter librarian will come to collect and we'll get in a bar fight and fall in love. As a person, I think this is funny, but as a librarian, this really annoys me. I'm newly terrified by the implication that librarians aren't people, and I've misjudged what exactly I'm up against. I hate this app. Hey, what kind of stuff are you into? Is psychology fun? I'm an accounting major, and it's about as boring as you'd think. That's a boring way to start a conversation. Okay, sorry, I guess. Admittedly, it's not the most interesting opener, but I'm just trying to play it safe, like damn. I gave my fantasy world a fully functioning economy, and now my hero can't afford the quest. Spent 4 months building a historically accurate medieval economy. Wheat prices, tax systems, guild structures, the whole thing. Very proud, very thorough. My protagonist needs a horse, a sword, and 3 days of travel rations to begin the prophecy. He has 6 copper. A horse costs 40 silver. I checked. I built the conversion table myself. I used World Anvil to track the trade routes, and Mithrilio to log every merchant in the kingdom. Every single one of them charges market rate. I did not build in a protagonist discount. The Dark Lord is going to destroy the world because my hero cannot afford a horse. My son has created a primitive pillow fort. My daughter, unable to break her way in, has wandered to the kitchen and is eating his half-finished dinner while he screams, "No, mine!" from behind his walls. I could stop her, but I think it's important to let children learn important lessons like, when the enemy's fortifications are impregnable, pillage the countryside until starvation forces them out. I had a dream where tornadoes were made illegal or something. I just remember like a dozen police cars driving directly toward a tornado with their sirens on and all getting sucked into the tornado. Why is this so fucking funny? How's life going in New York? Awesome, but this month is stressful since my semester ends at the beginning of May and I'm job hunting right now. I'm excited for the summer, but the month leading up to it is evil. Oof, job hunting sounds horrible. Thank God I'm 12. A new optimization opportunity. Hi Eric, welcome again to the team. It's been great having you on board these last 3 weeks. I wanted to reach out regarding a small observation I've made during your lunch breaks. I've noticed that after you've finished eating your sandwich, you've been spending the remainder of your 30 minutes sitting at the break table and looking at your phone. Yes, you are on your break and not abusing the slotted time, but the optics of taking your full lunch break instead of showing an eagerness to get back to support your work family is frankly disappointing. Most of the team finishes their lunch in about 5 to 10 minutes and heads back out to support their coworkers immediately. Let's correct this behavior and try to be more mindful of that team first spirit so we can keep your momentum going in the right direction. Brenda. Fuck you, Brenda. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. I don't know why people overcomplicate this situation with AI. This woman explained everything perfectly. We want AI to help with our lives and health, not with the stuff we do for fun and has no impact on us whatsoever. Apparently, at some point when my now girlfriend and I were flirting with each other but not quite in a relationship, she asked me how I felt about pet names, to which I replied, well, you have to call them something. The fact that I have managed to end up in a relationship is really testament to my girlfriend's patience. Your girlfriend is a moron sexual, OP. Please don't call my girlfriend a moron. Wait, just some of the changes in design for the penguin symbol on old penguin paperbacks. He did a little dance, and for this crime, he was imprisoned in a bubble. They liked his little dance so much, they gave him a spotlight. My dad knows what Yuri is because at a museum he used to work at, he was trying to organize some event about Yuri Gagarin, and I'm still not over the mental image of my 50-year-old father sitting down at his computer at work and googling Yuri images, fully expecting to see black and white photos of the Russian cosmonaut and just seeing anime girls kissing instead. One cool thing about having an autistic dad whose special interest is underwater spearfishing is that when he catches fish, he'll just call up a nearby Chinese restaurant like, "Hi, I caught a fish. Can you cook it and I'll bring my family by?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, come on over, white boy." And the fish is delicious. It's worth adding that my mom is Chinese and she always gets embarrassed by this. Like, she doesn't want to come to the restaurant with us. She doesn't want to be seen with the white man she caught, plus the fish that her white man caught. Everyone who works at the restaurant thinks my dad is awesome and compliments him, plus her for choosing him, and we all find this very fun, except for her. Today, I was wearing my Yes Homo shirt, and some lady told me, "You're going to hell." And I said, "With you around, it's like we're already there." And I swear she made this exact face. I cannot believe this post I made in 2015 is still going around. Anyway, plot twist, this same lady got famous on my town's Facebook gossip group for divorcing her husband for a woman. I like to believe my Yes Homo shirt pointed her in the right direction. I love how on Tumblr, sometimes you get the sequel to a story you didn't even know you were waiting for. I don't think Tolkien is a good fantasy writer because he scored the highest at some objective best fantasy book test that every fantasy writer has to take. I think he's a good fantasy writer because he created a world based on things that he was interested in. I feel like a lot of fantasy writers think that they need to create a whole language for their world because Tolkien did it. And obviously his books are the best, so they have to emulate him. But Tolkien did that because he was a linguistics nerd. I think the lesson to be learned from him is not that you have to include elves and deep history and new languages, but that you have to write endlessly about the things you are a huge nerd about and use those things to create your fantasy world. Perhaps this needs to be said again. Most of the world building in Harry Potter was just a British person describing British things. Joanne queer-bashing Rowling, and there was a castle. American audience that's never set foot in a building older than a couple hundred years old. Oh my god, there was a castle. Ask not what your country can do for you. Become a socialist and demand it. This cartoon is supposed to be anti-Bernie, but it's actually extremely good. The government is supposed to be doing shit for us. Demand it. Do you know how much of a letdown it was to grow up smelling the aged whiskey in my grandpa's pantry, the wine in my parents' dinner glasses, the anise liquor on summer evenings, and finally being of drinking age and finding out it all kind of just tastes like car exhaust? When I was in high school, my dad was speeding like crazy because I was running late to my job at the cemetery, and the cop who pulled him over gave him 3 whole tickets because who the hell goes 95 in a 25? But then, when my dad went to court, the cop didn't show, and so the judge looked over at the charges and just couldn't believe it. He thought the cop must have been so racist that he made it up because who the hell goes 95 in a 25? So my dad got all 3 tickets dismissed because of racism that he didn't even experience because he was in fact going 95 in a 25. To clarify, my dad used to be a cab driver in New York, and he also grew up in India, so he just drives like a dickhead. I don't know if it's the mental illness, but sharing literally any information feels like oversharing. I'll be like, "I skipped breakfast this morning," and immediately I'm like, I might as well have told them where I buried the money. You grew up with someone who teased you, didn't you? How dare you insult me with something so completely factual? On this day in 2019, NASA astronaut Christina Koch made the first edit to a Wikipedia article from outer space. Koch corrected details in the description of the spacewalk tasks in the List of Spacewalks 2015 to 2024 article titled "List of Spacewalks since 2015," at the time. Today I learned Christina Koch, currently flying to the moon, first all-women spacewalk, was the first person to edit Wikipedia from space, and it was to add information about spacewalks as a spacewalking astronaut. In my high school, a few years ahead of me, there was a polyamorous girl named Luna who was dating a guy and a girl, and the girl was named, I swear to God this is her birth name, Maria. They were named Moon and Tide, and they were lesbian lovers. I thought it was the most romantic fated thing ever. As a tiny baby queer, it would make me sigh in adoration. The boyfriend's name was Frank. Hi, my name is fictional woman from apocalyptic show made by a man. I have really clean, neat hair and perfectly plucked eyebrows, and I love to get pregnant, even though the world is f***ed to hell and there's no hospitals or running water or anything. Found my 53-year-old very much not online father in the kitchen today, meticulously arranging cutlery on the countertop, and I was like, what are you doing? And he looked up at me with the world's most shit-eating grin and said, your mother told me this is how you rickroll the youth. And I looked over and it was fucking loss. I must stress that he's never seen the original comic. My mother simply showed him the shorthand symbol and he memorized it. As far as he is aware, this is just a fucking hieroglyph that deals instant psychic damage to everyone under the age of 30. You're not allowed to bring wireless devices into classified areas, and a security guy noticed a square phonish shape in my pocket, so he asked me to show him what it was, and I had to show him my can of pocket herring. Here's your image for context. It's actually sick that you get tired of eating the same food over and over when some animals, they just eat grass all day. Just another pointless challenge mechanic added in by Big Universe to get you to go to the grocery store. Was literally thinking about this when I gave the rabbits their breakfast. The same dry pellets they get twice a day every day, and they were so hyped for it. As they always are. Why can't I have that? Where are my pellets? Little used fantasy trope I love when two people are playing cards in a shady bar and it's the tense moment where they show their hand, but it's a fantasy, so they can't say things like full house or royal flush, so they say some nonsense like 3 crowns and a dead crow, and the crowd is like, ooh, so we know that's good. Other character smirks. Well, I've got a castle on 4 omens. The crowd oohs louder, so we know that it's much better. That's how I feel watching scenes with regular cards. At least I have a man is always the weakest flex because 80% of the time, their man sucks and no one else wants him anyway. At least I have a man, and I give you my condolences, but what does that have to do with anything ever? I'd rather get 1 cent a second than 2.5 million. 1 cent a second is 1.3 billion every other week. Hardly a difficult choice. Literally, how did you reach this result? I just thought of the biggest number I know and commented it. Why is Adderall making me boring? I thought I was supposed to get more fun, but no. I've just been acting boring and serious. What's the deal with that? When I was in elementary school, they put me on Adderall. My grades got better and I stopped getting in trouble, but my dad said that I started acting like a businessman, so he had me taken off it. It is my sole purpose in life to get this woman her food. Yo, this is my nana. Look, she 92 and her ears are strictly for decoration at this point. You gotta knock like the feds are at the door. I'm talking knock the soul out of that wood. When you think you've knocked loud enough, do it again. Then scream, Mrs. Higgins, the Wendy's is here, at the top of your lungs. Do it a couple times. I'm gonna try to call her, but she thinks the phone is a calculator. Just get them nuggets in her hands by any means necessary. I'll tip you. The one weird thing about cats is that murder mode isn't the first photo, but the second one. When they're sprinting up and down the halls at 3 in the morning, they're definitely making the second face. You can change me pronouns? Separate gender pronouns and sexuality fields. Oh, this game is woke. It gets even woker, pal. I wish men could wear skirts, unironically. I hate stuffy pants in the summer. Why are folks getting dumber? Because they don't read. Why aren't men as romantic and poetic as they used to be? Because they don't read. Why are people so vulnerable to propaganda? Why is everyone a conspiracy theorist? Because they don't read. Because they do not read. As the literacy rate declines, you'll ask yourself why the quality of life continues to deteriorate in ways large and small, and in almost every instance, the answer will be because people stopped reading. Finding celebs on Tumblr. So I'm 21 and I just downloaded Tumblr for the first time ever to see what it's about. It was gaining some attention again on TikTok, so I thought I'd make an account. How do you find celebrity accounts on there? I thought it would be like Instagram where they pop up whenever you start, but no luck. Oh, you sweet summer child, you know nothing. When my son was 3, he had a guinea pig named Rufus. One day he left the cage open and Rufus disappeared. I bought a replacement Rufus Rufus, never told my son, and things were going fine until the original Rufus showed up and I had to pretend he was Rufus's cousin, Roger from Philly. Do we all have that friend that when you go out with them, it feels like they're a local politician who knows everyone on Earth, and you're their weird mute friend who just left the house for the first time in 8 years and is learning to smile again? So I was writing a small paper in Microsoft Word and the program suddenly crashed. I saved a couple minutes before, thank God, and I get this message in the corner of my screen 2 seconds afterward. Microsoft Word is now playing the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. What the f? A whole new level of procrastination where your paper itself is procrastinating. Back when I worked at Walgreens, I didn't know witch hazel was a real thing. People would come in asking for it, and I'd be like, yeah, it's on aisle 3 next to the Wolfsbane and Eye of Newt, you fucking idiot bastard. Zoe, Wolfsbane is also a thing, and Eye of Newt is just the old-timey way of saying mustard seed. By Talos, this can't be happening again. Boss said we must take lunch at 12, so we did. At my old job, we used to have flexible lunch breaks at work. Could go anytime between 11:30 to 2, just to make sure someone was covering. Worked fine. New manager comes in, says everyone must take lunch at exactly 12, no exceptions. Okay then, 12 hits. We all just walk away. Phone's ringing, customers mid-sentence. Not our problem. Boss looked panicked, trying to handle it all. By the time we got back, it was a complete mess. Next day, new rule. Lunch between 11:30 to 2 is fine. Had a straight dude come to my place and he was so impressed by the simplest things. Art on the wall, rugs, a $40 knife block set. Dudes are so fucking lame and pathetic. They for real need a mommy to take care of them their whole lives. Nice house.
Dudes are so fucking lame and pathetic. They for real need a mommy to take care of them their whole lives.
Kind of looks like projecting to me. I visited my identical twin brother at his college where a lot of his floor didn't know he was a twin. That night, he had some people over in his apartment and I hid in the bedroom. Note, he has a beard and I don't. While they were hanging out and me hiding, he announces to the group that he's tired of his beard and is gonna shave it off. So he escapes to the bedroom where I'm hiding as if to shave. We switch clothes and I walk back out to the group with my bare face. Everyone takes note and, while it's genuinely an unusual thing to do at a party, nobody thinks much of it. After a bit, I announce, you know, I kinda miss my beard. I think I'm gonna grow it back. At which point, I go to the other room where my bearded twin was hiding. We switch clothes back and he walks back out to the group immediately re-bearded. People lost their freaking minds. The alternative girl with the pathetic boyfriend thing has to end. Hi, I run a small Etsy business selling replica Scott Pilgrim cosplay items. You're personally hurting my livelihood by saying this. Think about the effect your words have on others. Boring people the second they see something a little creative, silly, experimental, or even just a little confusing. What the fuck did I just watch? What were they smoking? It's okay. Some people just have the wrong opinions. I've always thought it's too bad that disco is the only kind of dance that comes with an artifact. It's compelling that disco has a ball. I want to know what secrets will be revealed if I gaze into it. There should be a hip-hop cube, a ballroom amulet, a swing diadem. My kids are still quite young, under school age, and I've been careful to try to make sure they only have kind role models. This has resulted in typical mean language being absent from their vocabulary, such as you're stupid, ugly, I hate you. But they've started inventing their own way to be mean, such as you're not my brother anymore, you're a stranger to me now. And hearing that out of a toddler's mouth is so cutting. A character arc where the character who did terrible things and regrets them is forced to live, to put one foot in front of the other and find healing, who chooses to pour goodness into the world and make the world a better place, is more satisfying to me than a character arc where the character who did terrible things and regrets them is redeemed through death. Keep thinking about how I wrote in my dissertation about how every time a new form of public/social space emerges, it's immediately popular with kids and teenagers who see it as a chance at freedom, and then adults colonize it and kick them out. This happened with malls in the 80s and diners in the 50s and pool halls in the 20s. My dad was doing research on the trend in like 1975, and I was like, yeah, so this is going to happen to the internet. And then 5 years later, every government suddenly decided to ban kids from everywhere online. I hate being right, especially when I don't even get paid for it. I do everything in my power to try and not become an ignorant adult like this. My favorite translator said that when she was an ambassador for Hungary, she took all these Japanese politicians on a tour and she was trying to circum-translate merry-go-round because she didn't know the Japanese word for it by calling it a horse tornado for children, and they had no blessed idea what she was saying, and she finally started running in circles going up and down, and they go, oh, in Japan, we call those merry-go-rounds. People tell me I'm too literal. Autism tests are so funny. I'm extremely literal most of the time, but people don't tell me that generally. So I'm inclined to answer disagree because I'm taking the statement too literally. Queer-owned business means nothing anymore. OpenAI and Palantir here are both queer-owned businesses. If this is how you find out that both Sam Altman and Peter Thiel are gay, I'm sorry. Someone sharing a group with you doesn't make them a good person. Not superstitious and not superstitious, but a third secret thing. Read a lot of fairy tales as a child and doesn't believe them, but also would never be rude to a mountain while still on it just in case. I've said it before, but this is both the Icelandic and the Irish approach. Of course we're modern, educated people who don't believe in fairies, but we're also not gonna fuck with them. We're not idiots. The sunk cost fallacy has been my favorite fallacy for as long as I can remember, so at this point it's probably too late to pick a different one. I just heard about the recency bias, and honestly, I think it's gotta be the best one ever. Everyone is saying that the bandwagon effect is the best bias, so they have to be right. I once had this one logic professor who said that appeal to authority is the best fallacy. She's an expert in logic, so she must be right. Just came home from a dinner party with a friend group at which several people kept asking, "Ask Pedro," or "Pedro will know." I was terrified they were referring to an AI like Claude, but no, thank they were referring to a cardboard cutout of Pedro Pascal that someone left upstairs and who has been designated a kind of patron saint status in the household. As someone who blocked all of Kanye's music, I have less and less sympathy for people who say they can't cut Harry Potter out of their lives. Oh, you can't stop engaging with a single franchise? I can't listen to Graduation or The College Dropout. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy? Watch the Throne? Cruel Summer? Nope. I had to cut American Boy, Forever, Jesus Walks, and Mercy out of my rotations indefinitely, okay? Yes, it's hard to cut out an artist you enjoy, especially one who was tremendously influential in shaping the landscape of their genres. But I don't know. If an artist is actively causing harm and supporting their work gives them economic power to do so, you make sacrifices. There's a lot of art out there, and you'll probably find something in the same chain of inspiration. If only there was some way you could view their art without contributing to their economic power. One of the funniest failures of US school systems is the fact they are legally obligated to teach us all the states, but they never actually show how big Alaska is. Like, I have actually had teachers tell me that Texas is the biggest state. We have all just convinced ourselves that Alaska is that small shrunken down thing on most US maps, and the people that know it's the largest state can almost never accurately describe how large it is. For context, here is a picture. What? The morning commute. Found the saddest trad guy, who's trad for driving to work and makes AI images romanticizing the morning commute, sticking his finger fully into his hot coffee just to feel something. Tradman got the tie seatbelt and the cue ball gear shift that doesn't move. He's driving perpendicular to the road. Anyway, adult saying "I don't know" isn't an answer is part of the reason I learned to lie and bluff so well. Really though, what was that about? I don't know is a valid answer. It communicates very clearly that the child cannot answer your question and therefore maybe needs more help understanding the question or situation. Why do you try and push them to give an answer they don't have? That stresses them out and it makes them feel like they're being punished for not knowing something. I thought I was the only one with an "I don't know" problem because my parents made it seem like it was the strangest and also most horrible thing in the world. I genuinely didn't know and they got angry and then only blocked my thoughts more, which meant I didn't know the answer to anything else. What the f makes phone apps so cocky as to send me multiple notifications telling me to use it? My grocery list app straight up went, "You haven't made a list in a while. Are you out of your mind? You are a program. Why are you speaking to me like you're my equal? I could replace you with a pen and the back of a receipt, idiot. I destroy you now." If you got like a 100-kilo bag of glitter and opened it up and left it in the path of like a tornado, I think that would be interesting. I don't care about ecological damage, by the way. I do. 100-kilogram bag of seaweed-based glitter. I don't. 100-kilogram bag of enriched uranium-based glitter. This man in the shower. All I said was, "Bae, AutoZone calling. I'm about to answer for you." This man done flew out the shower through the door, talking about, "Don't pick up, they trying to overcharge me. I went to Firestone instead." Something fishy about this shit right here. Boyfriend found love in the astral realm. Am I overreacting? Okay, so I had this conversation with my boyfriend of 2 years today. We plan on moving in together in the next 6 months. He was talking about how he's astrally traveled a few times and met a very attractive woman who takes the form of a vampire. He's met her 4 times. She's taken him back in time to Versailles in France. He says I'm the love of his life in this life, but she's the love of his life in the next. He explicitly told me we won't be together in the afterlife. He's going to be with her. He even said he wants to be buried in Versailles because that's where she is. As you can imagine, I feel very hurt and don't quite know how to react to this. I got very jealous. The thought of him leaving me for some entity upsets me greatly. How should I deal with this? Is the relationship over? Yes. Does that not damage the hair? I don't think. That's okay. I'll wait for someone who does think. He's coming. Amen. I was talking about my DoorDasher. Hit me with the harshest reality truth. So I actually just looked this up, and apparently it's true. Middle children are dwindling. In the 1970s, it was common to have 3 or 4 children. Today, almost 65% of women with children only have 1 or 2. So the middle child is becoming increasingly rare. The fact that middle children are going extinct is the most middle child thing I've ever heard. The fact a fan had the opportunity to take a pic with Dua Lipa and put a Chad filter on her, this was way more memorable than a regular selfie. I never get tired of Chad face memes. Our CEO fired the entire 12-person QA team last month and replaced them with an AI automated testing pipeline to save $1.2 million. Today, we lost $6 million in orders because a bot hallucinated a discount code that made everything in the store 0. The best part? He asked the lead dev to hop on a call with the fired QA lead to see if he'd consult for free to fix it. Corporate greed is a mental illness. A friend of mine tried to sell his soul on eBay, and the starter price was $10. And people were bidding on it, but before anything happened, eBay took it down and sent him an email explaining that if he was selling a soul that didn't actually exist, then it was against their policy, and if he was selling a real soul, then that is a human body part, and it is also against their policy. Well done, eBay, for solving that philosophical conundrum. If you ever want to kill an hour with a guy, ask him what animals he thinks he could take in a fight. What animal do you think you could take in a fight? Maybe a horse. Do I get prep time? Yeah. But the horse gets it too. Then no. Going on a date tonight with $11 in my bank account. Let's hope he's not a feminist. He said in the first 3 minutes of the date, I follow you on Twitter. Don't worry, I've got you covered. Do people forget the things they say on Twitter are public? I run one of the largest gnome spotting websites in the country, and we just got a huge spike in gnome movement. Over 25,000 gnomes on the move, but we are months away from their traditional migration season. Something big is going on. If the gnomes predict a nuclear exchange based off of unusual gnome migration patterns, I'm giving up. My manager actually said your personal life shouldn't interfere with your availability after I declined a last-minute Saturday shift. For context, I put in my availability when I got hired. Weekdays only. It was agreed upon in writing. 8 months later, my manager texts me Friday night asking me to come in Saturday because someone called out. I said no, politely. Had plans with family I hadn't seen in months. She literally responded with, I hope you understand this reflects on how serious you take this job. I make $14 an hour stocking shelves. I have been here long enough to know that saying yes every single time never once led to a raise. A thank you? Nothing. So I just replied, understood, and continued playing on my phone. 81% of recruiters said their employer posts ghost jobs per Fortune. This needs to become illegal. It is data collection plus intimidation of existing employees plus stock market manipulation plus HR pretending to be working. Literally, nothing is good about it, and it damages the social fabric a lot. Brother and I checked Craigslist ad when we're 19, year the 360 Elite came out. Trying to find cheap launch 360s to nab up since COD babies are selling them for elites. Find a guy selling his for $110. Meet at his apartment. Dude seems okay, not a whole lot odd. Brings out the Xbox, a couple games, and 2 controllers. Says, fuck it, I'll take $10 off. It ain't even mine. It's my roommate's. I recorded him fucking my girl, and they don't know it. I'm selling all their shit off as revenge. We're both like, holy fuck, that blows. Is that his TV? He throws in a 32-inch widescreen for another $50. Asks if we're hungry. 4 hours later, we've hit McDonald's, gotten drunk, and are playing pool at the local billiards hall. Dude drops us his phone number in case we ever want to hang out again. 10 years later, we were groomsmen at his wedding. Dude finished college 2 years after we met him and makes $300K a year at a banking branch in SC. We still play video games and shit over Discord. Best fucking Craigslist ad ever. TLDR, we went to buy an Xbox, ended up with a bro for life.